Hi, everyone. This is Colleen Meyer, the moderator here at the Lafaya Way Live. It's going to be an amazing conversation today. First, let me introduce our host, Lafayette Mitchell. Lafaya is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She is an author of the best-selling books, the Lafaya Way series. You got to check those out on Amazon. She is a speaker and the creator of PEP, which is PEP, Parents Empowering Parents. You guys, I sat through some of her training. It's absolutely amazing training. She specialized in working with hypersensitive kids, teens, and adults. Now I want to introduce our guest today, Amy Crippen. Amy is a registered nurse with a clinical research background. She has a bachelor's of science in nursing. Amy is a holistic health coach and helps others unleash their infinite health. She's the creator of the Activate Curiosity Wellness Approach and the host of Dream It, Dare It, Do It podcast, you guys. And if you have any question, comments, I'm going to pop off screen, but I'll be monitoring the comments. So if you have anything, let us know, and we will answer any questions you have. Lafaya, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us again. I am so excited to have my friend Amy here today. Now, see, I knew her from the beginning as Amy Crunch. But I love Amy Crippen too.
Yeah.
But Amy, so I just welcome. I'm glad that we finally get a chance to connect here on Lafayette Way Live. And I know that you're going to bring just like a wealth of wisdom to people. So just excited to have you come and do what it is that you do. So now I guess we'll start with, how'd you get started doing what it is that you do now today?
Oh my gosh. So I'm a registered nurse, and I actually went into clinical research, and I really enjoyed that like patient interaction. And then I happened to accept a job that was more administrative and away from patient care. And then all of a sudden I just got like this weird that I was like on my own wellness journey, and it just like kind of came through me. And it was like, hey, you're supposed to be a coach. It's like, a voice, like, what inner voice? What are you talking about? I'm just trying to get myself healthy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I just started listening. It was like really nagging me and kept on pressing on me in a way where I was like, I think I need to listen to this inner voice. So I started doing it. And then I just really realized how much, like, I started finding little nuggets of things. Like I didn't even know there was a holistic nurse coach certification in my profession, let alone in innate health and an understanding that really brought me inner peace and guided, reconnected me with my inner guidance.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. So it's absolutely wonderful when we follow our intuition. When you follow it, you start to get what I call the downloads, and the downloads were telling you, hey, like it's knocking on the door. Like, you're supposed to be doing this. You thought you were doing this, but you're supposed to be doing this. That's awesome. We're all lucky today that we, first of all, get to hear from you, given the journey that it is that you've taken. So I'd like to know just a little bit about, okay, this whole holistic nursing piece, because that's a new term to me as well. But what all does it involve being your type of holistic nurse?
So,
oh, you're muted.
Are you able to unmute me?
I can hear you now.
All right. So I think that's a really interesting question to make, because I believe that so many of us have their own like concept of what holistic health is. And for some people, they think that's like no medicine, yoga, like ginger tea, I don't know, like whatever your concept is. And to me, holistic health is treating the whole of someone, right? So that is integrating in the fact that, while you might have physical elements, going on, how is that affecting your spiritual growth or your financial or your environment, or, what are these other factors that are compounding on what's going on with you physically, right?
Yes.
And so I think that's my approach, is really seeing how, wellness is actually innate, and our body wants to stay in a state of homeostasis. It is always.
Our
body's always working towards bringing that back, in balance. And so that's really.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so now I know that just in some of my research, I was learning that you kind of work with the inner and the outer, experiences for others. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the strategies that you use to kind of align those two?
Yeah, and I think that's the really interesting thing, is I do so much like individualized co-creating wellness approaches with people, but really unlocking their curiosity. And we do a lot of like self-inquiries, right? I think that self-inquiries just has like this really natural way of seeing something new from within, hearing a new answer for ourselves. And we're so quick sometimes in like our habitual thinking to come up with like, oh, I'm not a morning person. It's like, well, when you start questioning yourself, like, are you really not a morning person? Like, what are your barriers to that? Are those actually barriers, or the excuses? To me, excuses, something easily from the outside can kind of like remedy that. You can talk to yourself into doing it and it'll be okay. A barrier might be something like, a physical condition where you got to work around, and you kind of need to have a more tailored approach to it, right?
Yes. Okay, so now that's awesome. So now tell me a little bit more about your Activate Curiosity Wellness approach. Is that right? Activate Curiosity Wellness approach.
Yeah. Well, so active is all about, being active, whatever it is, taking action, whether that's moving your body, which I think we all should be moving our bodies in ways that feel comfortable and bring us joy, and like we can celebrate, our bodies. It doesn't have to be, I think a lot of us feel like exercise has to be some regimented stuff that's awful. We hate it. It's just to count the calories. It's just to count how many I'm burning. No, it's about like what's bringing you joy. Or taking action towards something. Say it's, financial stuff. It's like taking that action. You've got to move into action to see results, right? And curiosity really is just like unleashing that part of our like natural ability to problem solve, right? And we have this natural ability as humans to be curious. That's how we've discovered so many things, is through this, like, how does this work? All the innovation we see today, curiosity. And so we can like really reinvent ourselves with that tool as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
that like the well in us is just always there,
Yeah. So now tell me, what are some of the key areas that you work with typically? So I know that sometimes we can say we work with all areas, but are there a few set areas that okay, this is every time or most of the time when people come in to see me, these are the areas we're going to work on?
I seem to really attract people who are similar to me, in something like burnout is something that I work a lot with, something that's been a nurse. So I tend to work a lot with individuals who are experiencing burnout, whether that's in the workplace or relationships, or mothers or fathers. And then, I also tend to work with really looking for a different approach to getting at a better routine for themselves, like with their physical health. I tend to really people who are looking for something. I've tried everything, and I just haven't found my own rhythm.
Okay, now Colleen.
Yeah, I'm just, Amy, I know technology, this is our life in 2021 and beyond. Can you speak up a little bit? I know it's just technology, and I appreciate everything you're saying. It's for some reason, it's just not picking it up.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. We don't want to miss all this great information you're giving us.
Not at all.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's what I tend to work with. I really tend to work with individuals who are looking for an individualized approach. They're looking for something that's really self-sustainable, and looking at reconnecting with themselves.
Okay, so so are there key areas? So I mean, like, are we thinking when we say holistic? Are we thinking like mind, body, spirit? I noticed that you mentioned that you work with even talking to people about some of their finances if there are issues in those areas. But how do you bring it all together? Like, are there certain tools that you use to gain the information that you need, or tell us a little bit about some of the tools that you use.
So much of transformational coaching and transformational conversation, and in those conversations, it's about tapping into people's own ability to problem solve. They can see that they can solve their own problem conversation, and there certainly are kind of practices that I go to, especially when we're defining our wellness plans. I tend to go to defining our inner self leadership muscles, So really looking at like what our core strengths are and how we can apply those to the areas in our life that we feel, that we can improve on.
So you said self-leadership muscles. Is that the terminology you used? Oh,
yeah.
Awesome. So when you're working with, you're really teaching people how to find their own answers
Mm-hmm.
to the questions. And you said that it happens, we can usually we have all the answers inside of us. Now, what are some of the things or questions that, some of the questions that you ask that help to pull some of that out of people?
And it is hard to describe because it's so intuitive in the moment, when I'm in those conversations. I don't know. It just comes to mind, what to say. But often it does seem like, we kind of have similar insecurities. You kind of find that out as a coach, right? Like we all kind of have these similar insecurities that seem to pop up, and we can take them really seriously and let them hold us back from where we want to go, or we can really see them from what they are. And that's just this idea that we're insecure in this area,
So what are some of the most common insecurities? Like if we were to give like a top 3, what are some of the most common insecurities that you deal with people?
Yeah. I think a lot of the common insecurities have to revolve around self-worth, and self-care, like finding the time. That's a big barrier for people, is finding the time to do the planning or the arranging to be able to work on making that space for themselves. And a lot of that is tied into self-worth. Is like we have to feel worthy enough to take up space in our life, and so I find that being a very common one, a breakthrough that my clients often have, is like realizing, oh my gosh, like I am worthy. I can take up this space, and the family still, like, things still happened, and the life moved on, and I feel great.
So what are some of the things that people do to increase this sense of self-worth? I'd love to provide those out there who are listening with a few little tools, for if lack of self-worth is an area of challenge for them. What are some of the things that they can do, or what are some of the questions that they can ask themselves, or whatever, that would increase that feeling of self-worth?
Yeah. One method I do share with my clients a lot is this journaling method, and it's something I use for myself, where you kind of go layers deep. You ask yourself a question, usually form like who, what, when, where, why kind of question with it, and then once you kind of see an answer, you ask yourself a question based off of that answer, and you just keep going deeper and deeper, and you're amazed at what you see of like, oh no, I thought it was this problem, but I'm actually linking this to like something that I didn't even realize. You really go deep into, what it is that's holding you back. And sometimes we're really surprised at what that is.
Wow. Okay. So can I be a little bit of a guinea pig in this?
Yeah.
Can we go through like a little process where, okay, so one of my challenges is a sense of self-worth. So, so how would we start our conversation with that knowledge? Like, what would you ask me and I'll answer, and let's kind of go back and forth with like, 5 or so little, that'd be fun.
So it would be like, when did you notice that? When did it occur to you that you didn't feel worthy?
Ooh, I would have to say that it didn't really occur to me until I was in, I would have to say even my mid to late 30s, because I really thought I was important until I actually tried to put myself out in front of other people.
Yeah. So what was going on at that time in your life?
A lot of change and transition. Just moving from what I had always been comfortable with and kind of hidden, to things that were more uncomfortable for me, where I'm more out, kind of out there, putting my ideas out there, the whole Lafaya Way thing, which is, now I'm using my name and all that.
What do you do when you notice?
What do I do when I notice? I'm sorry, you cut off at the end.
What do you do when you notice those feelings coming up?
I just push through. I make it happen anyway, because I know that the message I have is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like finding that why, that why power, that devotion that like pushes you through, right?
Yes.
It's easier almost to do when you're writing down, because you can see what you wrote and you can take words, and it is just this inner like and like it's almost like meditative, because you take time to just allow things to flow out of you in a space that's safe, because nobody's listening to your answer but yourself. You in a piece of paper, and it's amazing what people will discover when they start looking into, what's really back, and so sometimes, this idea that we're insecure, and we're really just have an idea we're insecure, but we actually do the damn thing anyway. So that's pretty confident.
Yeah. So hold on. Okay. So when you go through the series of questions, typically, and I kind of got a bit of a feel for it. So you ask kind of the who, what, when, where, why. So we're digging deeper to figure out where exactly this comes from. So you really, it's almost like, from some, you might learn that they're insecure or they don't feel a high sense of self-worth because they weren't treated as if they were important when they were younger, or, maybe they've gone through their lives feeling invisible, or, or there could be, certain messages that you give to yourself, things like that. So, I mean, I love that who, what, when, why approach. Now, when you get them there where it's like, okay, they're starting to really get, kind of the who, what, when, where, why, then what's that? Is there a next? And I know that you work from that intuitive side, but is there like a next little piece that you use to kind of draw more, get them to go a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, it's usually kind of like the focus that week, and right, like that will be what you marinate on, and you start like kind of listening to yourself within, and kind of notice yourself doing that, and notice how and then do what occurs to you in the moment, right? Like, okay, I notice I'm doing that thing again. What occurs to me to pivot? Like, what occurs to me to stop that behavior, or whatever it is that that outcome that we're looking for. And it's amazing. Like, the things that people come up with are amazing. I love when like my clients share with me, their solutions for things. I was working with somebody once where they really wanted to balance like their mental health and their physical health, and their children were barriers, to all the snacks requests during the day was driving her crazy. And I was like, well, what can you do? Like, what is an idea you have? That's where you get like curious. What's the solution? What's the idea I have? And she came up with like, she found like an old shoe organizer and put on the back of the pantry door and like organize these snacks, and was just like, go to the pantry. It's already on the door. That's where you're allowed to have, so it's amazing. That never occurred to them because their focus probably was just how frustrated this reoccurring problem was, versus the focus was on like, what's a solution for this reoccurring problem, right?
Oh, I love that. Okay, so I absolutely, we've spoken before, so I absolutely love what it is that you do. And sometimes with our more intuitives, you're not so heady, so you're like, I don't know, I'm just good at it. Like when we're in the moment, I know how to work this. Like I know exactly what to say. Like I listen to my intuition. So I know exactly what to say to pull out more when I'm dealing with this specific situation. Don't try to pin me down and make it general, because it's about the individual. I love that. No.
How do you get out of intuition? I'm like,
but I do want to say that I can hear the Lafaya Way in there. I can hear you step 2ing and step 3ing. So every time I hear the who, what, when, where, why, I love that, because that gets into the understanding the real truth. That's step 2. So everybody, those who aren't familiar, I have the Lafaya Way 4 steps. Find your calm, understand the real truth, respond in alignment with your truest intentions, which I also heard, that's my step 3er, right? Respond in alignment with your truest intentions. So now you're looking at, okay, even if this isn't an issue or a problem, okay, my just kind of rehearsing what the thought, pattern, the old thought pattern is over and over again, is definitely not responding in alignment with my truest intentions, because my real intentions are to, kind of get rid of these behaviors I don't like, or get rid of these thoughts I don't like, right? Things like that. So then you help them move into a space where they can see that I do have a measure of control, over this. If I think in a problem, if I get into my problem-solving mind, then I can help myself to respond in the way that's in line with what I truly want. Does that sound? Because I could hear the connection.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, did I steal your way?
No. I learned how to put it in a formula. That's all. Because I was the same. I was like, okay, look, I'm just good at what I do. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I know how to do this. Like when I'm with the people, I know, and people are like, you need to write this down. I'm sure you probably get the same thing. You need to write this down. You need to write a book. You need to share what it is that you do. And I said, I don't know how to share what it is that I do. I just do what I do, And so, but it became very handy.
Right? Like you're able to share it. And
yeah.
I think that's so interesting with it, because it's like following your calling, right?
Yes.
And that's very much so what I feel that I do, following that calling. I'm listening to that voice. It was scary. It was scary showing up and like putting yourself out there, but it's amazing to see the people that I've helped, along the way, and that's what really makes like this worth it. It makes it worth putting yourself out there to see that, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you say has been your biggest or most impressive? And, we're going to try not to make a story match up too much, and we're not going to use names, of course, but what would you say is like the biggest accomplishment you've had doing the wonderful and specialized work that it is that you do?
It's interesting because sometimes what I notice is that people go off to like, they're doing bigger things than me now. Be my own like coach now, I've really seen people take off. A lot of, like I said, a lot of it's like burnout. I end up attracting a lot of people with burnout. So they're kind of fizzling on like this dream that they had often, and a lot of that's because they're sacrificing their own well-being running after something, right? Mm-hmm. And then we just can't sparkle We just can't sparkle when we're not like taking care of our own well-being, and we really can't be present, you know. And so often it's showing people how their wellness affects their business, affects their relationships, it affects, you know, it affects everywhere. If you're not being yourself, if you're not really taking care of yourself. And I've seen people go off to create, like, you know, like different groups where they're helping other people in different areas that they specialize in and they're super awesome with. And that's been really rewarding, as seeing like this ripple effect, right?
So I noticed that you kind of spoke about working a lot with burnout, right? And then I love that you used the word spark, because what it's sounding like is you help people to kind of reignite. So you're kind of like that. Would it be a torch, like, or is that too big of a light? You know, kind of like that match, whatever you call it, that thing to kind of help them to get back light, right?
Yes, absolutely. I definitely feel that. I've been told that before too, and I'm like, well, that's.
See now, you know, we could tagline and say, "I bring the spark back into your, to your life," right? No, but it's that's so exciting and so impressive what it is that you're doing. I love that you're coming from the nursing field and that you've taken, because sometimes some of our nurses, they get kind of a little bit lost in just that, kind of that purely, medical mindset, which, I have nothing against. Everything has its place. But I've also found that it can be an absolutely wonderful thing to have people or especially our medical professionals who really see the value in that, taking that holistic look, looking at the overall value of things like self-care, and that kind of, because you can't really, we could take, a good, medication here and there, but ultimately, if we're not engaging in self-care, then, it's really, easy to get into a place and space where you continue to kind of spiral down, and then, start to have that doubt that, these things like the medications out there actually work, right? But if you're working from the proper angles, then all of a sudden that those wonderful medications out there that have been invented, they actually work, and that kind of thing. So have you found that sometimes what it is that you do actually enhances the medical experiences for other people?
Yes. Yeah, I absolutely do. I do, I also do work with people who have different like comorbidities, just like everyone, like wellness, like we have different things. We have IBS, we have, like asthma, diabetes, so other things. So that's what's really cool about having that nursing background, is I understand those things. I mean, I'm not coming into it as a nurse, I'm coming into it as a coach, but I understand those conversations and those pieces of the puzzle. And often I'm able to kind of, give that perspective that you just can't get in the office. There's just not a ton. There's not enough time when you go into the clinic to really get at these other things that are really holding you back. Because see, we think often that it's like, oh, I'm just not doing the thing. I'm supposed to eat good. I already know I'm supposed to eat well. But we have this whole social construct of what eating well is, right? And these, it's just interesting. It's very interesting to like dive into those sides of things, of what's really holding people back from doing what they know is good for them.
Now, it was actually it was exciting to hear when you talked about that kind of comorbidity. How absolutely wonderful is it, even though, you are focused on the coaching component, how excellent is it? Because there are so many people out there who are dealing with physical ailments because of, the lack of all the other areas. So to have someone who actually has the knowledge to work with, more, to work with those, and maybe we're not consulting on the physical piece, but at least you have a better understanding of that piece. So then there's a little bit more work that you can do with them than your average coach could do. So that's actually excellent. That's awesome. Awesome.
I know. Thrilled when I was like, wait, because I thought I was going to have to leave the profession of nursing, and I was just thrilled to find out that, wait, there's nurse coaching. That's a thing. Like, I didn't even know it was a thing.
Oh, that's so awesome. Okay, so before we close, Amy, we have our timekeeper. So tell everybody how they would go about reaching you. What's the best way?
Amy Crippen Wellness .com is a really great way to find me. I on Instagram. I know all these things are supposed to match, but they don't. Crib Crunch on Instagram, and Amy Crippen on Facebook. So
Okay, awesome. Well, it was excellent to get a chance to speak with you and connect with you again. Yeah, and I hope that you viewers out there that you learned a little something, picked up a little tidbit, and I'm so excited to have had her here. You guys have a wonderful evening, and make sure that you stay you and you stay true.